Ozempic kids are here. Yep, this is what you get when there's parents who don't know or don't care anything to learn about basic nutrition before they have kids, and they all look for shortcuts. Obviously, that's how we are. And then you end up with Ozempic kids. Insane stuff.
Childhood obesity is spiraling out of control.
We're
21% of
cooked.
kids in the USA are now obese.
The U.S. has seen a massive rise in childhood obesity rates. More than 1 in 5 American children are obese.
I was fat when I was a kid as well, so yeah.
That is up from 1 in 20 back in the 1970s.
One
Holy
in 5
shit.
kids. That stat actually blew my mind. As a former obese child, I was usually one of 2 fat kids in my class. Everyone else
Same.
was thin because kids don't usually struggle with their weight. But that is clearly
For 6 years, I was the only fat kid in class.
not the case today. And while childhood obesity is a big problem, it's also a symptom of other problems. Our food environment flooded with ultra-processed foods, our modern sedentary iPad lifestyle, and the billions of marketing dollars targeting kids. There are many potential solutions to the problem of obesity, but for now, a new approach is being taken. And that approach is GLP-1s for kids.
Doctor, we tried to have Eric eat right.
And you're
and
telling me
exercise,
governments and doctors and medical professionals are allowing this?
but it just doesn't seem to work for him.
Have you heard of semaglutides?
like Ozempic and Wegovy, and wouldn't be surprised if kids start to take those.
From the Wall Street Journal, when diets don't work, parents turn to Wegovy for elementary school kids. Now, obviously, I'm all for the fight against childhood obesity. Unlike some people we've talked about on this channel before.
The best
Yeah,
way to
she's
win the war
insane.
against fat is to give up the fight.
But I've been thinking about this whole issue a lot, and I have a lot
Yep,
to say.
that's how you die. So you actually did lose the war in that regard. So she's making zero sense.
So I wanted to kind of open up the conversation about this new approach to obesity. Today we're discussing GLP-1 kids, starting with 9-year-old twin brothers named Aiden and Caden. But
And you know what the
is
insane
young-
part is? You're basically getting nerfed for life if like these fat cells, they don't disappear. When you lose the fat cells shrink. You still have those extra fat cells. They never disappear. You know what I mean? And when you've been fat your whole childhood, it's much harder when you're an adult. So imagine going on these GLP-1s and Ozempic and all of this, which just makes you, as far as I know, not an expert in any of this, as far as I know, it just makes you not be as hungry. You know, I guess it suppresses your ghrelin or something. So the issue is, then what? Okay, you go off Ozempic because what, you're gonna be on Ozempic your whole life? That's not very smart. In many ways, that's probably even unhealthy. You know what I mean? So, and financially not responsible. So, eventually, when you get off of these GLP-1s or whatever you want to call them, you'll be fat because you didn't change your lifestyle, you didn't become more active, and you didn't change your eating habits. It is what it is.
young as 6 are being given weight loss drugs as a way to curb obesity before it gets too late. So the story opens up with these 2 twin adopted brothers named Aiden and Caden.
I was
who
this
are
fat.
getting injected with a GLP-1 while watching cartoons. When I first heard
Insane.
this, I think my jaw hit the floor. It's so dystopian. And honestly,
Yeah,
all I
it
could
is.
think to myself was, how did we get here? If
Bro,
I'm
it is. There's so many things these days being dystopian. Drag queens in front of kids. Like, what are you doing?
totally honest, my
What?
complete knee-jerk reaction to the concept of children plus Ozempic is a big hell no. It just seems completely viscerally wrong. Now, I am pro GLP-1s in general. I think they're an amazing feat of modern science. I think that the data suggests there isn't a lot of reason to be
I think there's a time and a place for GLP-1s, especially if you're like 600 pounds. Yeah, you need that shit. But you're like 50 pounds overweight. Just change your fucking lifestyle, man. Come on.
concerned, for my opinion, and in general,
And
I'm
your
happy
eating
that
habits.
there is a tool to potentially help with the obesity epidemic. I
Mm-hmm.
really am. However, that's for adults. For kids, we're talking about a completely different ballgame here. My mind automatically fills with Aiden and Caden stuffing themselves with sugary cereal, Pop-Tarts, Dino Nuggies, and Smiley Fries while sitting in front of the TV, like I used to do. And then to think that to combat this, these kids are just going to be shot up with a medication at such a young age. Like kids plus medication, it's the type of thing you hope your kid never has to take a medication, right?
Yeah.
Let alone starting.
It's the type of thing you hope you would never get on, even as an adult. You want to postpone that shit as fast as possible. You know, you want to have as high of a testosterone as possible, and lean as lean as in not too lean, but healthy lean, right? 15%, 12% body fat, right? 15 isn't lean, but it's healthy, right? I wouldn't consider that lean. But you want to do that as long as you can by being active and eating well, right? Not hopping on testosterone on the age of 25. If you've got hormonal issues and you talked with an endocrinologist or something, forgot the hormonal doctors how they're called, but that's a different story.
A kid on a
If
medication
your endocrine
that they'll
system is
need
effed up
for life due to a completely preventable thing like childhood obesity, a thing that didn't even exist really in kids 50 years ago. But guess what? If you're feeling a little bit mad right now, well, that's because you just got rage baited. And
Nah.
not by me, by the Wall Street.
Very hard to make me rage bait. Okay, I was bullied my whole childhood. Got like physically and verbally, made me very, very, very strong as an adult. Because I don't want to end up in fights. Fuck that.
So don't be mad at me. It was all a setup to trigger you about potentially bad parenting, when in reality, Aiden and Caden are actually struggling with a metabolic disorder. They have this rare metabolic issue that's led to extreme obesity at a young age. The boys were about 4 years old when they started rapidly gaining weight. Sometimes they would eat so much in one sitting that they would become sick. They were so hungry at bedtime that they would cry. The family worked with their pediatrician and nutritionist and started limiting portion sizes and following a stricter diet. They also enrolled the boys in karate classes to try and help them lose weight. However, their BMI continued to climb. So it actually wasn't until the family got the twins into this kids' local obesity management program that they learned about this. But there they were tested, and it was discovered that they had this genetic mutation that makes them extremely hungry and therefore can lead to obesity. Now, I feel like every few years you'll see like a little Michelin baby like this. So when you see this, usually these kids have an extreme
It's insane that that's not AI and it's real.
example of the types of genetic
Why is this doctor smiling? Why are you smiling? There's not positive about this.
mutations that can lead to extreme childhood obesity. Now, these genetic abnormalities, they exist, but they're really rare. And when someone has them, they can lead to very, very serious complications very, very fast. When they were 7, their A1C, a measure of blood sugar, was elevated. They also had signs of liver dysfunction and worrisome cholesterol findings, according to the report. They were still moving up to the chart to the point that it was alarming, Wright told the journal, noting the boys' weight was affecting their ability to run and play. The article also said that these kids were lifting weights with their parents 3 times a week. They go on big family walks all the time.
Teach them at least to lift in a proper form. Don't fucking... You're gonna hurt them, you know what I mean?
Parents only let them have like ice cream once a week.
It's not hard.
And more. It really seemed like the parents were doing everything they could to try to manage their kids' extreme hunger and obesity. And yet these kids are already struggling with the type of obesity you might see in someone who is 45 years old and had a slew of bad habits their whole life. But as I mentioned, these genetic abnormalities, they only explain a very small percentage of the now 21% of American kids struggling with childhood obesity.
Yeah, a lot of people use genetics as the the end all be all. Nah, bro. Most of the time, it's you can do something about it.
Obesity doctors today are seeing kids.
You're telling me you're just basically accepting defeat?
Younger than ever before develop obesity. They're seeing more severe cases and they're dealing with more obesity related comorbidities. And as we talked about several months ago, there was this insane UNICEF report that came out describing the fact that this is not just happening here at home, it's now taking over the world. In that video, we covered that.
In Nigeria, there's some crazy trend going on with cereal companies. She made a video on it. It was pretty cool.
Even kids in Nigeria are now struggling with childhood obesity. So things are feeling a little bit bleak. I mean, for years, kids did not have to worry about most of the, except for in rare cases, of course, most of the diseases that typically come with adulthood, with a life that's been lived. And now that's just not true. I mean, look at this. High blood pressure rates in children nearly doubled in 20 years global review.
Bro, what's this? Okay, beans, nice. Are those fried potato? Are those fries? Okay, what are those? Something fried, chicken maybe. What the fuck is that? I mean, I can see the orange, the apple, the pear. That's nice. What's this? Is that bread? Anyway, parts of this is good, parts of this is bad.
Minds. High blood pressure used to be something that we would associate almost exclusively with middle-aged adults. Like, this actually sounds like satire. But here's another fun headline. Study finds children in US became increasingly unhealthy over past 17 years. It really all does beg the question, what the hell is going on here and how do we make it stop? But, you know, it also makes it more clear why some doctors might be looking at a patient that comes into their office and be willing to put them on a GLP-1, even if the knee-jerk reaction is that it feels wrong to do this, to put a kid on an obesity medication. You hear these stats, you hear Aiden and Caden's story, and personally, I get it. And my point with all this is, this stuff is super complicated. It is not black and white. Even if it feels like it is, it's not black and white. By prescribing GLP-1 medications early, doctors say they aim to prevent lifelong obesity and complications such as type 2 diabetes and high blood pressure, which are showing up in teens and even younger children. Doctors prescribe.
Yeah, I guess in this case it's a little bit different. I mean, I don't know what else. I'd probably choose many other options if there's better options, and if there's not a better option, I choose this. But still, they shouldn't forget that they should be teaching them how to, you know, live an active lifestyle and eat healthy. Because, like, can people be on GLP-1s for the rest of their life and be healthy? Really?
Off-label say the risks of obesity complications for some patients are too serious not to try a treatment that can be so effective. I see kids who have developed type 2 diabetes at 10, 11 years old, said Dr. Jessica Riley. They need help so desperately.
My cousin had, what was the pre-diabetic? I forgot what was the stage, pre-diabetes. I forgot. He had that when he was like this age, basically like 10 to 11 years old. So, yeah, insane stuff.
So if it hasn't been clear, this drug actually hasn't been approved by the FDA for kids this young. But some doctors, based on their experience, are still thinking that it's worth the risk to put them on this medication with no data. And it's worth it to them because the alternative is letting them grow up with obesity from that young age. Because here's the extra f***ed up layer regarding childhood obesity specifically. I think it's fair to say that it is way more dangerous than adult onset obesity, because being obese as a child means your likelihood of escape is way lower. I just read a paper the other day about toddlers with severe obesity, so kids between 2 to 4 with severe obesity, and it said they're plain.
I just remembered my youngest cousin. She's like, I don't know what her exact age is. She is below 10. She is very obese. So, yeah, I feel bad.
It is critical to note that the development of severe obesity this early in life is nearly irreversible. And the prognosis for kids a bit older than that is a little bit better, but not by much. And on top of it, it massively increases these kids' risk for early death, prediabetes, diabetes, high blood pressure, and something called dyslipidemia. And on top of it, behaviorally, we know that the way you eat as a child really sets the stage habits-wise for the rest of your life. So yeah, personally, despite, you know, my dramatic intro to this video and stuff, I can really see this side of it. Like, yeah, of course, some doctors are thinking that the unknown risk of the GLP-1s is better than the known risk.
Also, I want to see, again, I critique statistics. I'm not sure. I don't know what to believe in. You know, I don't know what statistics are true or biased or not. But hopefully, when it comes to health shit, it's not biased and political, you know? That's my hope. I would like to see, hopefully, truthful statistics that show, was this happening and how often was this happening of little kids all of a sudden being born or developing these kinds of diseases where they are insanely hungry. They eat a lot, they are very fat, and they eat to the point of throwing up and all of this. Is this a new phenomenon? Or was this, like the percentage, let's say 0.5% of kids that are born have this disease. Was this always the case? Or is the percentage going up now? Because just think about it. The more we are unhealthy, like sedentary lifestyle, not active, eating like garbage, smoking, drinking, all of this, right? And we have kids. Our kids are gonna be not as healthy. Then they continue that lifestyle. They have kids. It's like a reverse evolution. You know what I mean? It's basically what it is, and we're doing it to ourselves, even though we know we know what to do and what not to do, at least the basics, right? So maybe if today's percentage of cases like this is 0.5, maybe 100 years ago it was 0.1, and it's growing. Because with every generation, more unhealthy shit, more stress, more pollution, more sedentary lifestyle, and so on and so on. So, yeah.
Childhood obesity. But at the
What do you
same
think
time,
about
you
it?
can't understate the risk of putting these kids
I'd love
on
to
this
see those
drug
statistics.
when there is no data available yet. These drugs aren't yet approved for obesity in patients this young, and without further studies, it isn't certain that young children can safely use the medications for weight loss
Okay.
without compromising a critical period of growth for their bones and brain. We do not have enough evidence to safely prescribe under 12 at this point. Dr. Sarah Hampel told the Journal. I think that
You're telling me you can prescribe at 13? That's still insane.
potential is there for positive impact, but there are not enough studies yet. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about kids, not adults. They're developing their bones, their brains, their hormones, their appetite, everything. Who really
Yeah.
knows what the potential effects could be injecting a drug that works on both your brain and your body? Plus, I mean, there is also the issue of putting these kids on these GLP-1s who are now eating less of the wrong foods. So you're going to have some kids who are eating...
Yeah, even if they lose the weight, they're still not eating the right stuff. They're not getting the right nutrients to build a well-functioning adult body that will be able to survive in bad conditions, Illnesses, sicknesses happen, COVID happened. You know what I mean, right? Like, you need to build a good immune system, and also for the kids to grow up as, as big, as strong as possible. Not just physically, mentally, everything, immune-wise, especially.
virtually an entirely junk food diet and almost reliant on some volume in order to get any sort of nutrition, now
Yeah.
eating way less of that diet. Which, is that going to be worse, right? Like, are we going to see 12-year-olds with like osteoporosis next? There are just
Oh,
so
God.
many unknowns and concerns. It has got to be such a hard and uncomfortable choice for the doctors faced with making it. Do I let the children I'm caring for inevitably become sicker through obesity, or do I give them this thing that could potentially impact them in ways we don't even fully understand? For me, I can see both sides. I think both arguments are so strong. It's just, I don't know. I'm glad I'm not a doctor. I'm curious what you guys think, though. I feel like there's going to be a lot.
What I think doesn't matter because, again, not a medical professional, but if they're below the ages of 12 and, I can give them that. I wouldn't ever want to give them that, right? Maybe up until they're adults, but I would try to change, I like to do physical activities, right? I'm going to get a dog just to be, have a one more excuse to go on a walk every night, every morning, hiking on the weekend instead of playing stupid video games. I'm not against video games. It's just, at this point, you gotta be more creative, bro. Come on. Think of some kind of a game you can do outside with your kids, and maybe even get a dog, even better, okay? When you're hiking up and your Rottweiler will be pulling you, it's a little bit easier, you know what I mean? And do that. And teach him and make him get used to healthy food and being active. And then, and only then, as my math teacher used to say, and then and only then, if nothing works, we don't find anything else with the doctors, eventually I might have to, give in to the Ozempic. Yeah. Yeah. I really don't know what I would do.
Of really strong opinions on this, but like I said, I don't know. For me personally, I could see both sides, but
I would probably spend sleepless nights just studying this type of medicine. Just
like to
researching.
talk about the way bigger issue
Showing
here that
doctors what I
neither
find.
of these articles even mentioned, and it's that GLP-1s are not going to end the childhood obesity epidemic. They can't. They're not designed to, because they don't address the root cause, which is
Yeah.
of course the food. Today's kids are overeating, and they're overeating because ultra-processed junk food has become the norm in our society. It's the cheapest, it's the most convenient, it's the most aggressively marketed. It's
I'm not even a fan of Lay's. I just don't like them that much. Sorry.
the culture we surround children with. From junk food commercials plastering kids' channels, to Paw Patrol on 5 different snack products at the grocery store. Actually, I feel like that's an important thing to bring up. Have you noticed that snacking for kids has like completely exploded? Snack packs, dessert yogurts, crackers and chips, fruit snacks, cookies, juice drinks, and don't get me started on those Lil Bites.
Since I was born, it's always been like this, as far as I remember. And I'm 24. You know, I think that's been the case for decades.
Piss me the hell off. Every time I see them, I don't know what it is about them. I just don't like them.
We start our day smiling together with Entenmann's Little Bites muffins.
Yummy!
Little Bites are made with real ingredients, like real blueberries and real bananas.
As a society, we just let these
Well, then just make them yourselves. Get bananas and blueberries and make them. Oh, you can make them? There's probably something else in them.
companies go open
This looks
season on
disgusting.
these kids. And then we go, I wonder why there's childhood obesity. It's almost like their little bodies can't handle food that's been literally designed to override their hunger signals and make them eat more. Think about it. 63% of American children will drink at least one soda today. At least one. On what planet does a child need a soda any day? Or even ever at all?
Yeah, I
don't
used to drink that shit too. Then I eventually started drinking Coke Zero. Not the healthiest, again, of course it's not, but at least it has no sugar and no calories. I don't drink it every day, maybe twice or 3 times a week, maybe, you know, when I go out with friends and see or family. But yeah, I'd give them that.
I feel like for me,
Or just fresh, squeezed juice. Fruit juice.
giving a kid a treat, like a cookie that you bake them or something, is a part of life. You know, I don't think that like being like super crazy about it makes sense.
Also, it plays a huge role in how you behave and how your kid is seeing you behave on a daily basis. If you're eating tons of, you know, home-cooked, healthy meals, fruits, vegetables, and meats, and so on, right? That's what they will see, and that's what's gonna stick in their fucking little brains. And maybe they will be more open to eating that. If they see you eat hamburgers, they'll eat hamburgers. And then 6 years down the lane, you're like, you need to stop eating hamburgers because you're fat. And your kid is watching you thinking, this fat ass is telling me to not eat the same way she's eating. What the hell?
When we're
Like,
talking
you know what
about
I
giving
mean?
a kid a soda or similar
Be the example.
sugary beverage on any given day, like how did this happen? Yet that's just normal to us. So many of us don't even question it because it's just marketed to us as what we do now. If you wanted a soda back
question
in
it.
the day, I'm pretty sure that you and your whole family had to like go to a soda
Bro,
shop.
she looks like she can squat more than the average man today.
You had to go get one as like an excursion. Same with fast food. It was like a treat. But now for a lot of households, it's a multi-day a week thing. And that's just how it is. Like given this situation, of course we have obesity. And if we don't address this, if we don't change the way we eat, are we really ever going to have healthier kids? Even if GLP-1s completely
that's
change the
disgusting.
childhood obesity epidemic, which would be amazing. That's the ideal scenario. Wouldn't new problems just pop up in its place unless we address the root cause? Like realistically, we'll probably just have skinny yet unhealthy children. No, the root cause is an excessive diet of nutritionally poor, ultra-processed foods and
Yeah.
a culture that makes them the preferred option. Without
Yeah.
addressing this, why would we assume that
Yeah, the culture part. Very well said. I didn't even think of it. You're the kid. Think of your kid going to the school. Everybody's eating trash while you're eating, I don't know, something nice that your parents made you, right? It's depressing. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay, I'm eating. Well, actually, if you make them some nice baked potatoes with some greens and some steak, and you know, a fresh orange juice squeezed in from home in like a nice bottle, That shit is not depressing. What am I saying?
Get better. Getting the medication off label has helped Aiden and Kaden
That's
make
nice.
healthier habits like snacking less and has also given them more energy. Their parents hope they won't be on the drug for more than a few years. They can learn to manage themselves, the exercise, the healthy habits, read their bodies properly, Wright said. The goal is for them to learn, you know, as they grow, that this is going to be their life. It says that Aiden's BMI dropped like 7 percentage points and Caden's dropped 5, which is amazing. Remember, they were obese at age 4, making their obesity extra difficult.
They are
to
4?
manage. If it turns out they're safe and GLP-1s can
No,
start
they're
helping
not.
kids today, that's the best thing ever. And if the drug can help them build healthy habits through that critical learning period, that is the ideal outcome. But realistically, we actually need nothing short of a cultural revolution surrounding food. Until we get
Yep.
that, it's probably just an expensive Band-Aid.
Yeah, it's also gonna be very hard for businesses in the economy because politics have to change some shit. Okay, have to regulate all this big food businesses to stop marketing to kids, stop producing all of this, or even have healthier options to market. You know, it would make it would make sales go down, which, well, you know, less taxes for the government and so on and so on. It's like we dig ourselves in such a huge hole in so many ways that fixing one thing will fuck up other things. You know what I mean? In society. You know what I mean. I don't want to explain even more in detail.
Not denying it can help in the short term, but things still have to change. And if we're serious
Yeah.
about protecting kids, we can't just let big food and big pharma continue to profit while people pay the price on both ends. I feel like we have to use the fact that very young children are being considered for GLP-1s as a huge wake-up call. We need to step it up. It might sound crazy or utopian or something, but I think that there could be a food revolution, a cultural revolution in America regarding this stuff. I mean, a big
Why
part of
not?
the reason a lot of the countries who aren't fat
Why not?
aren't fat and don't have fat kids is because they have a strong food culture that everyone participates in that says, no, I don't fill my kids' lunch pail full of treats. Why would I do that? Yet here in our culture, it's still odd if you think like that. It's considered extreme.
As long as we live in a society that that's biggest priority is making money and bringing more profits, making shareholders happier, and a government wanting more and more money from taxes because the country is getting richer. That's all, you know, that all sounds great, but then you see all the negative sides that are not related to finances. So it's like, choose something, you know? I don't know how realistic this food culture revolution is. It has to come from parents themselves or from adults themselves changing this shit, being more aware, and then teaching that type of a lifestyle to their kids so they continue that with every generation. So yeah.
This is just what we do here, likely because the food companies have wriggled their way into our culture starting when you were a kid. But yeah, I feel like the only thing we can really do as the adults of society is change our own behavior. Starting with not purchasing products from companies who openly claim to be trying to override your hunger signals with their technology. Like, why do we accept that as
That's not even the worst thing the companies do.
normal and then continue to buy their products? It actually doesn't make sense. We also
Create the problem, solve the solution, and enslave some people to work for you in a poor country.
need to find a way to make healthy food so
It is what it is.
convenient and cheap that it becomes our new norm. And it sounds small, but if we demand of ourselves a healthier lifestyle, the environment will change. These companies will be forced to change. The more adults that reject the current way of doing things when it comes to food, the closer we are to solving childhood obesity. It might sound crazy, but what we can do is change ourselves and what we tolerate. Because the alternative is injecting kids with a $500 a month medication that they need for life straight out of the womb so they can hopefully grow up to be able
$500
to
a
moderate
month.
how much money they spend on junk food every month. So yeah, in my opinion, even if GLP-1s turn out to be an amazing tool for kids struggling with extreme obesity, it's not enough. Success isn't getting as many kids as possible on a GLP-1. Success is
Yeah. It also teaches your kids that, you know, there's always a shortcut to life and you don't need to change your behavior. It's so fucking bad. Anyway, tell me what you guys think in the comments. Go to subscribe to Kiana Docherty. I'm sorry, Kiana. I don't know how to pronounce your last name. I don't know. Go subscribe to her. Like the video. Tell me what you think in the comments. Subscribe to me as well. Please don't forget that, and have a nice day.